guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to review another episode of NBC's Emerald City. This time it's all about season 1, episode number 7, They Came First. So the episode pretty much opens up with the wizard sending his guards out to find every little girl in his kingdom and snatch them out of their houses because of a quote-unquote sickness. And by sickness, they mean check the kids for magic. Obviously, the wizard is behind this whole big mess. Now, Dorothy, Sylvie, and Lucas made it to the safe house that Elizabeth told them about at the end of episode 6. Dorothy reveals that the wizard knew her parents and she believes that he's not as bad as you think. Now, on a side note, I'm a part of an Emerald City group where a number of people are calling Dorothy naive. In my opinion, I don't see her as naive. I see her as a person who has lived in like a small town and she's used to the way that people act within her area, that she's not worldly. So if she was worldly, I don't think that she would have looked at the wizard as a nice guy, because that dude is seriously shady. So we get to a scene of Lady Ev and Jack, and Lady Ev is still grieving over the death of her father that she calls a murder. We know it wasn't a murder because poor little Sylvie felt threatened, and that's why she turned him into stone. But Jack is trying his best to soothe her, to make her feel better, and the next thing that you know, she's kicking him out of her carriage. And I'm just like, this dude can't really go anywhere that fast. He's like half human, half Tin Man. Like, this isn't going to work. And of all places to leave this kid, and you leave him outside of the screaming forest. Poor Jack. So Sylvie is lying down in the middle of this meadow. It's a really beautiful scene. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, these white wolves come running towards the area. So in the next scene, that involves Dorothy and Sylvie. Sylvie's laying down in this meadow. The shot is a beautiful shot. The beautiful green grass just draws your eyes in, and she's just laying back chilling. And Dorothy catches wind of a sound, and she hears the wolves, and she's running over to Sylvie, and she's trying to get her attention. But remember, Sylvie has those shells in her ears, so she can't hear anything unless she's up close. So needless to say, Dorothy sees the wolves. It's like a huge wolf pack running towards this child, and Dorothy just screams, and the gauntlets light up on her hand, and this power emerges like some sort of sonic boom and takes out every single one of those wolves and keeps little Sylvie safe. Apparently, Dorothy can control those gauntlets when she is upset. So the gauntlets activate via emotion. So Sylvie, Lucas, and Dorothy have become this kind of family, and it's really, really cute. Dorothy ends up taking the shells out of Sylvie's ear after coaxing her to allow Dorothy to do this. And we learn on a side note that the witches took away Sylvie's hearing. But the way that we interpreted it, or the way that I interpret that statement, was basically that they put those shells in Sylvie's ears because Sylvie can hear everything without them, and it kind of drives her crazy. But Dorothy was able to get her to focus on one sound, and that sound being this beautiful white dove chirping. So Lucas tells Dorothy that she will have to give up Sylvie eventually because Sylvie doesn't belong to her or him. She belongs to Glenda. Okay. West is going through withdrawal from those opiates that she used. So they cut to a scene of West, and it appears that she's going through withdrawal because if you haven't already noticed, West is hooked on opiates. Mainly opium that comes from those beautiful poppy flowers that made poor Lucas and Dorothy a little bit wonky woozy at one point in the series. I believe that was in the first episode or the second episode, one of the two. So the wizard is on a mission to see West, and Tip tries to stop him. She tells him, listen, West is not feeling good. And the wizard's like, she's always not feeling good. I'm still going to talk to her. And his guard tries to manhandle Tip, but he learns his lesson really quickly. So the wizard tells West that he quarantined the little girls who he believes could possibly be witches. And he needs, if I remember correctly, he needs West to examine these girls to see if they are really witches. So the wizard, being the meanie that he is, starts talking about how Glinda sent the witches to die against the beast forever. And West reveals that she helped Glinda do this, but she says she will not repeat the past, and she's adamant about this. Apparently, according to the wizard, Glinda hid Mother South from West, and she built an army of witches on secrets and lies. So as you can see, he's still salty about witchcraft and magic and witches and the whole shebang. He's still mad at that. Someone in the scene asks the wizard, does he have a family? And he talks about having a family full of cheaters and liars. And I'm like, who is this dude referring to? Is he referring to Karen, Jane, and Roberto? Is he referring to his real family? Are we going to see flashbacks of his real family? Like, what is up with that whole statement? So the wizard claims he wants to help West save those girls. West says she will help him find the witches in that little gathering he put together, little quarantine, but only if she can be their caretaker and protect them. And the wizard agrees, but you already know he's got an ulterior motive. So Dorothy reveals she doesn't want to give up Sylvie. Lucas says that Sylvie belongs to Glinda, and this is what was planned for her. Lucas doesn't want to keep Sylvie in this scene, or he makes it clear that he doesn't want to do it at all. And I'm just like, what is up with Lucas? Like, why does he seem so shady in this scene? So Wes said, because it jumps back to Wes, that none of the girls in the quarantine are witches. And then another witch hunt happens, and one little girl is found. And this chick is so powerful that she releases a fireball from her body. It blows out this wooden door and takes out 2 of the wizard's guards. So poor Jack is stuck in the screaming forest all by himself. Poor baby. And in the next scene, it's really sweet when Dorothy talks to Auntie M about Sylvie. So sweet. Such a sweet scene. And the reason why I'm jumping around is because if you watch the episodes, it tends to jump from scene to scene to scene because there are a lot of stories to tell and a lot of loose ends to tie up in so little time. All right, so Dorothy reveals to Lucas that the wizard let them go because Lucas was standing up by the window in the safe house, and he was standing watch the whole time, and Dorothy's like, I can't let you do this. The wizard let us go. The wizard wants me to help you. And Lucas says, you know, you can trust me. I'm fighting for you. And after rewatching the episode, I'm still side-eyeing him on that. I mean, I know he didn't know that he was basically the person that he turns out to be. Like, he saw little bits and pieces in previous episodes of his life, but still side-eyeing this dude. So the wizard says that he no longer needs the little girl because he thinks that the little girl, the little witch girl, is dead after the fireball. But Wes is like, listen, no, that little girl's alive, and I'm going inside to get her. And Wes ends up coaxing the girl over to her, and she walks out with the girl. Well, apparently the wizard reneges on his deal, brings out this cart where he wants to put the little girl. It's like a, I guess you'd call it a paddy wagon, because it kind of does look like an old school paddy wagon. And West is freaking out. She's like, no, don't do this. She creates this huge crater in the ground, and the little girl kind of falls into it. so that when she starts her little fireball, West is able to put like a magical cover over it so that that fireball will not explode and destroy Emerald City. Okay, and all of a sudden the wizard feels like they need to go because the people around him start screaming. His people, they're yelling and calling him a fraud because he couldn't stop that little witch, and they're already pissed as it was after the fact that the guards had to come into their homes and take out these kids, the little girls. And when I watched the episode the first time, I was trying to figure out why he did what he did to his council. But after watching it again, I realized that is why he killed his council off, which happens later in the episode, and I'll get to it, but it all makes sense to me, and I will explain that to you. So, West feels remorse. She reveals that she took away the witch's fear so that they could join the battle with the beast, and she sent them out to fight, and none of those girls returned. And these are the girls from that big battle that happened between the giants and the beasts forever and the witches, the one that was explained earlier in the season. So Lady Ev comes to help Jack, and that entire scene was so sexual. It had so many sexual undertones, which truly shows that this show is for adults, is not for children. And on a side note, a lot of people are upset about that because they thought that it would be the type of show where families could sit down and watch. The only thing is that the time slot is the biggest indicator as to why this show is not a family show. If this show had aired at 8 o'clock, then it would have possibly been a family show. But unfortunately, this show is definitely not a family show. But back on track. So Lady Ev pops up. She's got an oil can. She's trying to oil him. And by him, I mean Jack. Because he's kind of stagnant. He rusted over. And he asked her to give him her word that she will not touch him inappropriately, and she sure does. And to add insult to injury, at the end, she asked him if he was finished. I was done with that scene. That scene was hilarious. So, Dorothy and Lucas, it seems like they made love for the first time because there was another scene in the episode where they kissed. So, when we pop back, they're in bed, they're hugging. And then Dorothy tells Lucas that she's going home. All she needs to do is convince Glinda not to go to war with the wizard. Lucas tries to convince her otherwise. Dorothy's adamant about leaving. Sylvie doesn't want Dorothy to leave, nor does she want Dorothy and Lucas to fight, so she starts messing with the gravity in the house, and they're flying around, and stuff is flying around. So by the time they made it over to Sylvie, they realized that Sylvie was doing this. Sylvie didn't want them to fight. As I said, Sylvie just wants them to be a family. So Dorothy says, you know what, I'm not leaving. I want you to come with me to Kansas. And then she asks Lucas, and Lucas is like, well, I can go. I'm the man of the house, so I'll go. I really like that scene with Lady Ev and Jack. Lady Ev was able to strip herself down, so to speak, and actually physically in that scene. But she and Jack are in her new chambers that used to belong to her father when he was king, but now they're hers because she's queen. And Ev is talking about how she never wanted to be queen. And she mourns over the fact that her father was the only person to see her as who she is or what she is. Is that what I put in the notes? The one only to see her as she is. Pretty much the same thing I said. I put a little mix on it. And as she is about to remove her mask off her face, Jack stops her, kisses her, and then the next thing you know, it appears they're about to have sex. So the wizard comes clean with the townspeople. He's ashamed about deceiving them and taking their daughters and putting them into quarantine and scaring the crap out of those poor people. He claims that magic must be extinguished, and he killed his council. Or he tells the people that they gave their lives up, which they didn't. Not at all. In fact, Elizabeth told him that it's no one's fault. If you're going to kill somebody, kill me. I'm the one who betrayed you to Glinda, but the wizard's just like, nah, I took out Anna, I'm taking out you, Elizabeth, I'm taking out all the rest of them. I don't think Isabel's a part of that because Isabel, the pregnant one, was dismissed, so she's probably still alive. So, the wizard, says that the witches are the beasts forever. The witches are not the beasts forever. No. Tip runs away because everybody's like gathered in town square, and Tip runs to that crater to see what happened to the council members, and they're all burnt up in that crater hole. And the little witch girl is just shaking and shaking. So Wes decides to put the little girl out of her misery in a very beautiful scene. And she releases the little girl's power after she basically puts the child out. And this beautiful sparkly blue like ball of light pops out and kind of spins and then or curves and disappears. It was so pretty. And Wes sees Tip holding that little, it looked like a little staff, but apparently I think it's a knife. And Wes is like, hold up. She's like, listen, that thing belonged to the daughter of the previous king of Oz. Her name was Ozma. So obviously it has become canon that Tip is Princess Ozma. So Dorothy, Sylvie, and Lucas make it to Glinda's house, her palace, and they enter and the way out is blocked. Glinda calls Lucas Roan, and I'm already like, oh no, what's about to happen? Glinda's so happy because Dorothy returned 2 important people to her, and I'm like, what does that mean? What's going on? Glinda kisses Lucas, and that final block on his mind is lifted, and all of a sudden he is Roan again. Oh my goodness. I'm still trying to get with that. I was like, wait a minute, why is he kissing her? I'm like, wait. And I was on Twitter on Friday like, hold up, wait a minute. Why is he sitting up here kissing her? Apparently, Glinda and Lucas were in love. Lucas was a part of the plan, or he actually not even was, is a part of Glinda's army that she's getting together to go up against the wizard. Lucas, begged Glinda for leniency for Dorothy because Dorothy was a healer and she saved him. So completely forgetting the fact that he and Dorothy were in love, even though he was Lucas still. Completely forgetting the fact that he and Dorothy had sex. Nah. He made it seem like Dorothy was something to do and Glinda was the real McCoy. And I'm just sitting up there like, oh my goodness. I was really done with Roan, aka Lucas, when he told Glinda that Dorothy was sent by the wizard to kill Glinda. But I think that I was really done with him when he turned to Dorothy and was just like, sorry, Dorothy, they came first. I mean, this was yet another good episode of the series. Why am I shaking my head? I have no idea. No, I'm shaking my head because Roan is just a hot mess. But like I said, this was another good episode of Emerald City. I definitely enjoyed watching it the first and second time. I will be back to review episode 8 on Friday. I also have to do a Walking Dead review and the review of episode 2 of 24 Legacy, and I will be leaving a ton of links to my previous reviews so that you guys can check them out. Anyway, guys, love you all. I gotta get ready to watch The 100. So, until next time. Bye, guys. Bye.